welcome back to Not Again. I'm one of your hosts, Rebecca.
I'm your other host, Alan.
And we are two parents who are just trying to get by, sticking with our sanity, watching the same shows and movies over and over and over again on repeat. Hey, that's actually a great transition into our clarifications from episode 1. Doesn't that sound like an exciting segment?
Oh yeah, clarifications. People love those.
Yeah, we're gonna get a nice little theme song jingle for it. No, we're not. Here we go. Okay. Number 1, we do not sit our kid in front of the TV 24/7.
Yes.
Yeah, I felt like the need to explain that. Because we do say that we've seen these shows 9,000 times and, where does that come from and things like that. And it's not because we want the TV to raise our child. Warren is surprisingly active.
Very active.
To the point where if I hadn't been there for his birth, I would have thought maybe they switched him because my idea of like exercise is rolling over in the middle of the night and going back to sleep. But he is a constant... He's
just
a constant
motion,
motion blur, exactly. And so he likes having the TV on in the background, and what that ends up doing to us is we end up watching
yes,
the thing.
we see it more than he does.
Because we turn it on, and then he kind of runs off to play and maybe watches 2 minutes here and there. Meanwhile, we're supervising him and actually absorbing this content, which is how we end up seeing things 9,000 times. So that's clarification number 1. Number 2 is, yes, Corey Carson is American made.
Yes.
I owe you an apology because I pushed back on that a little because we hadn't fact checked ourselves last time. I fact checked us now. Corey Carson is 100% American made and weird, and all TV shows for kids are weird.
Yes, they all are.
Also, I don't think anyone cares or will care, but we forgot a spoiler alert.
Oh, shucks.
So from here on out, I will try to remember it.
If you need the pure go Corey Carson experience, do not listen to our podcast.
If we ruined Go Corey Carson episode 1 for you, sure, or we're sorry, one or the other.
Okay.
So there is a spoiler alert for Go Corey Carson episode 2.
Yeah.
Chrissy's best friend. And yeah, we're going to be spoiling the heck out of it. So just, stay on board for that. We're going to jump right into it. As a reminder, this podcast is about children's television shows and movies. We're going to overanalyze the heck out of them, and we're going to review them a little bit, talk about parenting a little bit. I guess we did get belligerent a little bit about parenting the first episode. You know what? You can tweet at us at NotAgainPod if this has happened to you as a parent, but in our experience, as soon as we mention our son goes to bed really late, or we have this issue in front of other adults, not even other child having adults, just other adults, they tend to see that as an open invitation to help us parent.
Help in strong quotation marks.
Yeah. So
have opinions that are not great.
Yeah, and so I call it unsolicited parenting advice. Let's make that a hashtag. Mm-hmm. So you can tweet at us at NotAgainPod, hashtag unsolicited parenting advice, and tell us if that happens to you or if it's just us. So sorry if we got belligerent. We were trying to just nip that in the bud. We appreciate it if you're trying to help out, but we're doing okay. Okay.
If you've got a magic crystal that solves all parenting problems, I'm listening.
Other
than that, be quiet.
Don't invite the crystals into it. And don't tell our listeners to be quiet necessarily.
Okay. Tweet at us.
Yeah, tweet at us. But tell us your stories. But don't invite the crystal community into our lives.
That's true.
All right. So episode 2, Chrissy's best friend. We're going to jump right into it. Mm-hmm. Corey and Chrissy are playing outside. You remember this one?
Yes, I do.
And we were baffled by what they were actually attempting to do because Corey appears to be helping Chrissy to balance on 2 wheels, on her right 2 wheels.
Okay, yeah.
You remember that? Did we ever...
They were doing some very miscellaneous play.
Yeah, we couldn't figure out what the end goal actually was.
No.
But he's trying to help her balance on her right 2 wheels or left 2 wheels. And he's like, I gotcha. We're going to do this. They seem to have a goal in mind. I guess kids always have a goal in mind. We just don't know what it is most of the time.
Yeah.
And she loses her balance and goes zipping into their backyard, a backyard. It does not matter.
Backyard.
And what does she find there? A big red balloon.
Yes.
And it's stuck in a tree. And she is staring at it and wants it, and then she names it Looney, which is cute enough.
Yes. Short for balloon, I imagine.
Yes. Corey helps her retrieve the balloon through some acrobatics that we don't need to get into. I'm just looking at my notes here. I have an important note.
Oh.
Yes. Chrissy is able to grab the balloon and weigh it down and bring it down to the ground from the tree with her little tiny gumdrop body weight.
Yes, and with her hand tire.
With her so this is why I bring up that Hallie's a helicopter, like in episode 1, because Hallie the helicopter doesn't even have like that.
Limbs.
It's like Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast. Like Cogsworth and Lumiere get like simulations of arms. Yeah, arms.
Things.
And Mrs. Potts literally is just a head on a base. Like some of them definitely got a shorter end of the stick than others.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, so Chrissy basically like traps the balloon string between her tire and her car body.
Yes. Axle? Car body is
car
fine.
Body,
car
chassis? Is it chassis or chassis?
However chassis you're feeling today.
I'm feeling saucy, sassy, and fancy. All right. And she weighs it down, and that's very important. We'll bring that back later. There is a montage of Chrissy playing with Looney.
Mm-hmm. There are one or two cute moments, yes.
Yes. I think our favorite is when she's on the teeter-totter.
Yep.
Or seesaw.
Yeah, I would have said seesaw.
Okay.
And, obviously the helium balloon is not playing seesaw with Chrissy.
Yes. But so she's just sitting there dormant on a seesaw with the balloon on the other side, but she is delighted. She's like giggling,
having a great time.
That's the last bit of the montage before Mr. Carson calls them into lunch and begins giving everyone food. And his wife delivers the most condescending spouse line I've ever heard. I think, like, I'm going to ask you for your thoughts here. Say you'd prepared a meal for the family.
Yeah.
Because in this scenario, our family sits down to dinner like a normal family, and we don't like have to like gobble our food while Warren runs off to like join the fish outside or whatever.
Sure.
There are no fish, but birds.
Butterflies?
Or butterflies. Yeah, there were butterflies this
today.
morning. So here is the direct quote. I'm going to try to imitate her tone as well. You've just set the table with food for us, and I say, you are getting so good at using that microwave, honey. How do you feel about that? You ready for our relationship to continue as is?
We're going to need some counseling. But yeah, also it's just like, it looks like just steamed vegetables, but they really don't, like, their car mouths are part of their windshield, and like,
I believe that was to avoid doing the aesthetic of the Cars universe.
I suppose they would have
Cars
to
universe.
avoid that.
But yeah, we see Corey try to eat later. I don't think that there's any eating scenes here. It is weird. Yeah, their food looks weird. I wrote in my note, their lunch is, as far as I can tell, a croissant, a pile of corn and peas, and 3 baby carrots.
Yeah.
But the color of the baby carrots also makes them, it's like between orange and pink, so they could be mini hot dogs.
All right.
If it's mini hot dogs and a croissant and steamed vegetables, okay.
I mean, that's a pretty sad lunch, but at least it's like, some vegetables, a carb, and a protein. You know, like it's...
So that's their lunch. Here's the fun bit, okay? Actually, we have a name for this kind of fun bit. It's a bad parenting alert.
It's a bad parenting alert.
Chrissy harumphs. What does she want from Mr. Carson?
You're asking me to remember? Because I remember.
I'm asking you to remember.
She wants Looney the Balloon to be given lunch as well.
That is absolutely what she wants. And here is how Mr. Carson handles it. And I know you remember this. I'm telling our listening audience because you've seen this a million times. Mr. Carson sighs sadly. Well, Corey helps translate. She harumphs. Yes. Mr. Carson's confused. Those lines under his eyes are looking really pronounced right now. And Corey explains she wants some food for her friend Looney. Mm-hmm. Mr. Carson sighs sadly and pushes his plate over in front of the balloon and then just sits there near tears because he's so hungry.
He's so hungry and sad.
And he decided that the best course of action was to give up his food to this inanimate object. Here's how
Yeah.
we would handle it.
We had
came
the
up with the
idea.
idea,
This
yeah.
was my idea. What you do is you go into the kitchen and you find some like sprinkles or nonpareils or something.
Anything rainbow colored. If you're a parent
or
who doesn't,
just glitter. It doesn't even have to be edible.
well, not glitter with children. But
Oh,
the
well.
thing is, if you're a parent with small children and you don't have rainbow something food in your house, are you even parenting?
Yeah.
I don't.
And then you say this is balloon food,
Yes.
and you push that over.
So you fill a bowl with balloon food. You say
Yeah.
it's special balloon food. Anything rainbow colored will do, right?
Yeah, or just weird.
Beads, rainbow colored beads.
Yeah.
You said glitter. I feel like beads would be the safer version because
sure.
glitter gets everywhere. It doesn't even have to be food. And you tell your 2-3-year-old daughter
Yeah.
that this is special food for the balloon, and then you eat your lunch. I was about to curse there. We're doing it. We're doing okay. You eat your lunch.
Yeah.
That is not how that works. So Mr. Carson just sits there and doesn't eat. And that's going to come back later too. He gives up his plate of food to the balloon and is sad about it. That's what my note says. After lunch, Corey asks if he can do some art, which is fine. We should encourage the arts in kids. And Chrissy draws a really creepy face on the balloon, I think.
Oh, yeah. She starts, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like 2 eyes and...
Well, it grows through the episode. There's more and more, like, adornment.
Oh, actually, no, I figured this out. It's well, no. Let's wait till we get there.
Don't want to ruin the
Don't want to
magic.
ruin the magic. To start with, she has 2 eyes and
Yeah.
like a smile that's
Yeah.
all toothy and whatever.
A crooked,
Yeah.
like, toothy smile.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Corey discovers that Chrissy has painted herself marrying the balloon.
Mm-hmm.
She hums the wedding march as he observes her art.
Yes.
She's going dun 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 dun, and
Which is probably not something she should know.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, she has drawn herself in a little. And any time, by the way, the cars need to do something that would require dexterity, like actual hands, it always happens off screen.
Yeah.
So you don't see her drawing this. You just like the drawing is just there. And he says, I have a direct quote, and I'm gonna and I always try. You know me. I always try to imitate the way they say it in the show. Oh wow, you really like Looney. So he's I don't know if I'm getting the concern across right in his voice. Like, oh wow, you really like Looney. Like, I don't even know where to start with that.
Because he's saying like, "Oh, this is a little too far already."
Yeah, that's kind of what his
kind of
voice.
the impression.
Like, whoa, this went from 0 to 60 and nothing flat.
Yeah.
And let's remember that we're going to assign the age of 5 to Corey because
he's starting preschool.
Starting
yeah.
preschool. He could conceivably be 4, and again,
Or 6, but like that range.
That's in human years. Who knows what car years are like? But he's 4 or 5 in human years. So Chrissy is younger than him. I put her at 2 to 3.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say little girls can't fantasize about getting married, and and they ask creepy questions like, "Can I marry daddy?" and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It happens. They don't get it, but
Yeah.
it's still like, whoa.
I think this is
You're too into Looney.
To know the song and the dress and
Yeah.
the tuxedo or whatever it was. That's too much.
Well, I will say that in attendance at her pictorial ceremony, there were some balloon animals as like the audience. Very creative kid, but you should also probably watch out for her.
Yeah.
So that was Corey kind of expressing concern about that. Yes, speaking of Corey's concern, it's time for our second bad parenting alert.
Yes. Corey's concerned. He takes it to his mother, right?
He takes it to his mother. And I will probably stop clarifying about this like someday, but since we're only on episode 2, I'm going to clarify one more time. This isn't supposed to be an advice podcast. We are not my brother and me. We are not judging you if your parenting style aligns closely with
Yes.
Mr. and Mrs. Carson.
This is cartoon parenting. This is not real.
They
are cars.
Jokingly overanalyzing cartoon car parenting,
Yes.
okay? So when I say bad parenting, please know that I'm aware it is subjective, okay? But yes, so here's our bad parenting alert. Corey tells his mother, after Chrissy leaves, that he is, quote, concerned with how things are going because of what happened with his past balloon friends.
Yes.
Apparently, in car world, it is very common for a small car child to encounter a fully blown up balloon in the wild
Yes.
and befriend it.
He has had several.
He's had several. There's a montage of young Corey with various balloons, all of which had names. There was Bubba and Frank, and I don't remember what else.
Well, it was a joke where they all had the same name, and then the last one had a different name. So it was like Bubba 1, 2, 3, and Frank.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one pops on a tree branch, and one pops while he's in the bath, because the bath for them is like a car wash,
yeah.
and it has like that rotating thing, and so it popped the balloon. And one popped, I think, in front of the fireplace. And every time the balloon pops, young Corey starts crying,
Yes.
right?
He's very sad.
So he has his concerns about like Chrissy, you know, losing. Because
she's attached to this balloon now. She's drawn pictures of their wedding.
She's engaged to this balloon now.
Yes, engaged to this balloon.
He doesn't want her fiance to pop.
And he knows that balloons are a fickle friend. They explode.
Yes, he's learned that.
He's through many tears.
Yeah.
And he is concerned that his sister is going to be upset when the balloon eventually departs.
And Mom says, here's
bad parenting.
Yeah, here's our bad parenting. That's why we had the alert. And I have a direct quote for you. And again, I'm going to try to imitate her tone. Well, it's a good thing Chrissy has you to help keep Looney safe, isn't it?
Yes.
That pause is just us, like, kind of looking at each other and just...
So just remember how you were sad as a child? It is now your responsibility that your younger sister will never feel that.
Yeah, make sure she doesn't go through that.
Not you turned out fine. Not that that's a good parenting, but just like, it'll be all right. You know, don't worry about it.
Yeah, not like you learned a valuable lesson and you and also like you got over it, and like, you know, Chrissy will have to learn on her own to be responsible with her things. It is now on you to keep her from being sad. And the added thing to that is, if the balloon does pop, it is Corey's fault. It is his fault. She has just said that. It's his job to keep Looney safe. I'm reading it right from my notes.
And he's like 4.
or 5 or 6, as we have established.
That's the range.
He's actually 37 in car years. Really weird.
No one knows what car years are.
Well, I mean, actually, we could probably suss it out because we are nerds.
Like,
how long does your average car last before it just kind of goes kaput, right? I had Mr. Pitters. Mr. Pitters was my first car, and he was thrice used or something, and he was still running, but his air conditioning went. Is that when?
I don't know what that is. That like when you need a Newton hip? I don't know.
Well, we also know from season 2, which we're not going to get into, that Corey had a grandpa.
Yeah.
So car death is a thing too.
Yeah, they established demise in many ways, including this episode.
Yes. So anyway, so basically Mom Car puts that all on Corey. And then leaves. She's like, parenting, done. If she had hands, she would wipe them clean. And so Corey takes what she says to heart, immediately starts neurotically following Chrissy around. Yes. You remember this, right? She like tries to take the balloon in a bath, and she tries to sit with it, and she tries to bounce on it.
Yep.
He's constantly...
She brings it to the fireplace, and he goes, oh no, that happened to me once, now I can't. Yeah, so I'm
reminded of...
He has stress.
Oh, what is that dog's name?
He has stress about this
Patches?
balloon.
Stains.
Okay.
Stains the dog is now a GIF because of that show where he would stare like endlessly at cupcakes and human food.
Yeah, I know.
And they cut in like war flashbacks.
Yeah, so
he's now that.
He has stress about this balloon now.
Yes. And so he is running after her, trying to keep the balloon safe, trying to keep her happy, just like his mom wanted. And finally he gets her to just go down for a nap. By the way, super envious here. He just like swings open her crib and is like, get in, kid. And she's like, okay. And then,
I don't think we're ever going to get one of our kids to like get the other kid to go to bed.
Especially just by like popping open the crib and being like, get in there. You know, like no milk, no story, no singing.
Yeah.
Warren gives us a lot of false starts. But so she goes down for a nap. He leaves to retrieve some blankets. And when he returns, the balloon has floated out the open window.
Open window.
And I have here in my notes, Corey screaming, "Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no," as he drives out the door to try to catch the balloon.
And it's not she's asleep, she won't remember the balloon when she wakes up, whatever, because he has this stress from his mother
Right.
that is his responsibility to take care of this balloon.
Absolutely. And so he drives out the front door, which I think is a garage door. I think that's the joke. Is like
Yeah,
the
I
front door is a
suppose.
garage door.
They don't have regular doors.
He does not manage to catch it. He runs into the mailbox, and the balloon floats further away. Mm-hmm. So I wrote, what it's supposed to look like is Corey is a good and caring big brother.
Yeah.
What it actually looks like is he has internalized his mother's words and like taken them to heart and is now stressing and freaking out and whatever. We don't need to linger on this, but as he's, I want to say running,
Driving.
but he's driving fast. He's not running.
Scooting.
So he's scooting along. Yep, that's what we're going to say from now on. That's the verb. So as he's scooting along down the street, he does run into Mr. Coltrane again. And Mr. Coltrane, once again, is stuck on his track. And I'm saying this one from memory. I didn't even type a note on it. But, like, Corey's looking for the balloon. And I remember Mr. Coltrane going on some ramble about, like, an air traveler. I dated an air traveler once. And then he wants to finish this story, no doubt going into sordid detail. But, of course, he says, oops, I'm going left.
Yeah.
Can't stop. So he's
living in existence of no agency.
Internal movement as well. I don't know if he like ever got to rest. Like it seems like he's just always there. I don't know. And I don't know. It makes me look at the world of like Thomas the Tank Engine in new ways too.
Yeah.
Because anyway, so Mr. Coltrane goes away because he has to. And Corey follows the balloon up a hill, and he grabs on, and the balloon flies him away.
Yes.
And I think you'll remember that I said that earlier this episode, Chrissy was able to grab the balloon and drag it down to Earth.
We're not going to get deep into the physics here.
Oh, yes, we are.
Okay, fine. We'll get deep into the physics here.
No, I mean, not too deep.
But, it's supposed to be, I guess, just some whimsy that the car is floating, holding the balloon or whatever, and, like, that's neat, and don't you remember Up, TM. But, that Chrissy was holding this balloon all week or hour, who knows.
Some amount of time. I think it's just one day.
And morning.
Yeah.
Chrissy was holding this balloon down with her little Chrissy weight, and now it is
flying Corey.
It is flying Corey around town.
So that helium just changed a little bit.
Sure.
But so he grabs on, and Looney ends up flying him back over the neighborhood. And here is one of my favorite scenes of all time that we really just have to get into. This is probably the over-analysis part of the podcast. I'm going to issue a content warning because while we're going to keep it PG still, we are going to talk about drug-related things. But we see Corey's doctor. We do not yet know her name or the fact that she's a doctor. That we will learn next episode.
Okay.
But we know that. So she is Dr. Wiperglass. Mm-hmm. She's a little. I think she's colored like a doctor's lab coat, white and blue.
Yeah, white and blue kind of.
And she has big old glasses over her windshield because that's how that happens. You put glass over glass, it makes the glass see better.
Glass.
Glass. That's why her name is Dr. Wiperglass. And she is outside a cafe or outside of a cafe with a friend having some tea, and she sees Corey flying by on his red balloon. And she says, "I'm sorry, I'm stalling because I think I have an exact quote here." She says, "Oh my, that's enough tea for me." And there are so many possibilities here.
Well, I mean,
I
think of one or two actual literary references where that like meant something else, but yeah,
where tea meant something else.
Yeah, like Kerouac or whatever. But
well, I guess we can't get into Kerouac too much, but I mean, like, so possibility one is this woman thinks that tea, when consumed in excess, can cause hallucinations. That's possibility one. Possibility two is, tea is her euphemism. Like
for something. For something.
We'll say that, I issued the content warning, but we'll still keep it, vague, I guess. Yeah. But or she spikes her tea with something. So it is tea, but there's other stuff in it to improve her enjoyment. That's why she's sitting outside the cafe, She doesn't want
She's not allowed in anymore.
Yeah, her friend had to order for her. I just thought like maybe she ordered the tea, then went outside to do her business, like add her special ingredient or whatever. And she's a doctor, by the way. So like, what is she telling these kids? Like, kids, don't drink too much tea. Like, you'll start experiencing hallucinations. I'm going into Fargo again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
You'll start experiencing hallucinations. And, Tylenol is for the devil. I don't know. So that's fun.
It's a bad joke, and we don't know who it's for.
Yeah.
And we don't even know what it's really supposed to mean, and we've thought about it way more than we should.
Yeah.
And the fact that we can't suss it out means that it's just not good.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like I said, this is one of those shows where I was actually okay watching it.
Yeah.
Unlike like Super Wings, for instance. True. I think I went from 0 to like foaming at the mouth, raging hatred on Super Wings, but like with Corey Carson, it took a little longer.
Yeah. It was cute enough.
Yeah, for the first 10 go-throughs, and then Looney returns Corey home because Looney may be sentient.
Yeah, well.
And Corey drives in, and you'll remember this, right? The father's like sitting at the table alone with his still uneaten croissant veggie medley.
It's been a long time.
It's evening now, I think. And
he still hasn't eaten.
He's sitting there, and I think he says something like, "Finally, I have you all to myself."
Why?
He could have eaten at any time. He's an adult.
His wife would have disapproved.
Yeah, she would have said something condescending or passive-aggressive to him, too. So he's like, yay, I can finally eat this lunch that's been sitting here for hours. And then Corey drives in and is like, look who's back, Dad. And he goes, Looney? Oh, no. And he literally, like, jumps up on the table to bodily cover his food as if the balloon is going to steal it.
The balloon may be sentient. This could be a horror film.
We see just like Mr. Carson at night sleeping in his car bed and like just tossing and turning, whatever that looks like for a car, and just like flashes of like Looney's like endless smile. Like, yeah. So anyway, that leads to nothing and nowhere except that Mr. Carson is so sad and all the time just.
He can't even eat his vegetable medley.
This is supposed to be funny. I wrote this is supposed to be funny, but, and then just ... Like, it's mostly just sad. Like, I feel like Mr. Carson leads kind of a sad life. So Corey puts the balloon back in the bedroom. He shares his bedroom with Chrissy.
Yes.
It's just important to know. And he falls into his bed exhausted.
Yes.
From a long day.
Of worrying,
thanks to Mummy Dearest. And when he wakes up, Chrissy, and this is, we brought this up earlier, you said that Looney's design evolves.
Yes.
I finally figured it out. Okay, so Chrissy has added to the balloon design. He wakes up to Looney, being there. It's very similar to how Mr. Carson probably feels. Yeah. And she has drawn a space helmet on him. That's what it is. Helmet. It's hard to tell because she's basically just drawn like a kind of curvy rectangle around the face and then a couple stars on it. Sure. But that's what it is. It's like she's preparing him for his trip. So that's why I told you to.
I saw the stars. I did not realize that was an adornment for the space helmet.
Yes. This is what happens. The first 90 times I saw it, didn't know what was going on. Thought she just felt like doodling on the balloon more. Then time number 91 came around and I was like, oh. So that's how that happens. That's why I told you to stick a pin in it earlier. It was like, because we were going to get to it. So she's drawn a space helmet on Looney, and she drives him over to the window. She scoots him over to the window and says, ready, set, go, and releases him out the window. Corey is, of course, just...
apoplectic.
I was going to say apoplectic too, but that's more angry, but still, like he is having palpitations.
He's beside himself.
Yes. He says, why did you do that? And she says her line of Looney, go to Mooney, right? Which is how I figured out the space helmet thing. Yep. Was because the moon, right? Moon, you need a space helmet if you're going to the moon, obviously. There's like the touching wrap up, I guess. It's supposed to be touching. Yep. He asks like, why did you do that? He was your best friend. And she says, Koi best friend, right? And she gives him a car hug, which is rubbing up against him like a cat because cars can't hug.
They cannot.
And that's like literally the end of the episode. It's just like, no, that balloon was not my best friend or fiance. You are my best friend, but not my fiance.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
And then that's it. That's Chrissy's best friend. And the episode ends. So now it is time for our closing segment
Yes.
of What Did We Learn? Because supposedly,
This is an educational program.
or a program at least with a moral for kids.
I guess.
Right?
Yeah. We have a whole discussion that we won't get into today about like how programs for kids pretend to be educational and how they may or may not be.
Yeah.
But they just want you to think they are so that you'll let your kids watch them.
Yeah, pretty much. So what did we learn? What did they want kids to learn from this episode? What
Yeah.
did we actually learn from this episode? I am honestly pretty stumped on this one as far as what the lesson was supposed to be. Just like, don't freak out. Bad things are going to happen and you
Yeah.
can't prevent them.
But he did prevent them, and then Chrissy just said like it doesn't matter and let it go. So basically, Chrissy's the best parent.
Yeah. You know, what he learned is his sister has way better coping mechanisms than he ever had at her age. He
Yeah.
threw a full-on freak out every time one of his balloons popped. She sent hers out the window when she was done with it.
Yeah.
She was like, bye.
Bye. I had a good time. See you later.
Yeah, you know, call me, you know. And so, yeah, I guess, like, I don't know what the wrap-up is except something very generic, like family comes first, you know what I mean? Like, very,
Yeah,
very
well, that's why it's
vague. And also don't spike your tea with anything.
Yeah.
Because you'll start thinking that you're seeing things, even when you are actually seeing the truth. What did we actually learn from it? Mr. and Mrs. Carson don't seem to give a lot of hangs about their kids.
No, they don't.
I don't know how to say it. Like if your kid asks for
And
balloon
contrary-
food, get rainbow sprinkles.
Yeah, contrary to the first episode when they were like super attached, this episode they are just
Yeah,
absent.
that's true. What a turn.
Yeah.
Like episode 1, don't leave me. Don't leave me. Don't
Yeah.
leave me. Where's my hug? Don't grow up. Like all that.
Yeah.
Episode 2, you'll take care of your sister, right? I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Like, I think the only parenting we saw was Mrs. Carson telling Chrissy it was bath time, and Chrissy yelling no and scooting out of the room, and I love that. I'm going to say it forever. And then Mr. Carson technically prepared food, which is good. They should feed their children, but like then he also felt almost like beholden to his
He
children.
felt powers of dread.
Yes. He was squirreling away his croissant and questionable vegetables for so long, and he could have just eaten them. He could have just been like, Chrissy, I will get your balloon some food, and just like stuck a carrot in front of the balloon.
Yep.
Like, you know, even look.
Balloons can't eat too much or they'll fall down. No, that's not good either. But
No,
like, whatever.
like look, we have Warren, who is on the spectrum,
Yeah.
and he's 3. And when we're eating, he doesn't care. He wants to go play. And so we are trying to teach him, like, you need to be patient when mommy and daddy are eating. When
Yeah.
we're eating, we're going to do that. We're going to sit. And after, we will absolutely go play more with you.
Yeah.
And you can eat with us, and you can sit with us, and you can paint while we're eating, and that's fine. But you
Grab
need to
a
learn some boundaries.
Fistful of Play-Doh
Yeah,
or whatever, and just
absolutely.
sit at the table. That's cool.
And so far, that's been going quite well,
Yeah.
actually. I think he's starting to internalize the concept of like eating and us eating
being
and you know.
together, yeah.
And so if our son can do that, and he is incredibly intelligent, but I think Chrissy is too, considering
Yeah.
you know how emotionally advanced she was in this episode. I think Chrissy can be told like your balloon is going to eat different food than our
Yeah.
food. You know,
Yeah.
I think she can handle it. So that's kind of what we learned. Okay. You know what? I'm thinking ahead to subsequent episodes, and I don't know if there's going to be lessons in those ones either. So this will be fun. But this concludes season 1, episode 2 of Corey Carson. Go Corey Carson. And we will see you next time for season 1, episode 3, which I believe is Garbage Day.
Oh, yes.
I'm very excited for that one. For now, thank you to my darling husband, Alan, for composing music for this program.
Composing.
Yeah, well, I asked you to create something that sounded like it belonged in children's programming, and I think you succeeded. Don't sell yourself short. And thank you to our listeners and our subscribers. I'm sure you've heard this all before. This is the like and subscribe speech, so I'm going to say this very quickly. We are at Not Again Pod on Twitter, and seriously, if you have received unsolicited parenting advice, like we know this is only episode 2, but like anytime you hear this episode, like tweet at us. I want to hear, like, did you ever receive cringeworthy or just weird or unsolicited parenting advice? And how did that make you feel? Tell us a story. You can also find us on Facebook. And honestly, we really appreciate subscribers and 5 stars and all that and good reviews. But I'm going to be totally honest here. As a person who has started listening to podcasts and gotten other people to start listening to podcasts for real, word of mouth is key.
Yes, that's the whole thing.
I'm not going to tell you, like, don't follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
But if you know somebody who would like this podcast, I think that the greatest gift you can give us is just being like, hey, check it out. Like, I think word of mouth is very important. So, I have been Rebecca.
I have been Alan.
And thank you so much for helping us to stay sane for one more week. We'll catch you next time.